am so sorry about your Ohio,
It's
about the
okay.
Bengals. You know
Listen,
what? It was a
it was a
great
good
game.
game. Halftime
I
show
mean,
was
oh, spectacular. Yeah.
come on,
That
man.
was our jam, man. That was all the stuff I
That
grew up
was our
to.
time. That was our era
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. It
That
was
was
it
our
was pretty
era.
cool. And I didn't even realize 50 Cent was going to be there and everything. But hey,
I didn't.
it's Mayhem Monday. We are going to pick the topic in just a sec. To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly. Yes, sir. Okay, so
Right.
I mean, it was pretty damn cool. And then
It was.
one thing that I like Snoop sounded like he was back in his prime. Dre
Snoop is.
sounded a little different. He
He
sounded a little
might have been
different, I
more
think.
fun to watch last night than he was back in the day. I mean, his
Yeah, he was
dancing and
pretty cool.
everything. That guy.
Yeah.
He's something else. He's
Oh,
something
he's
else.
something else, man. It goes to
Oh
show
man.
you that if you just stay high, you could friggin' last forever.
Uh,
I love Snoop.
That's
He's
another
awesome.
show. That's another show now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Another PG show. So today, Mayhem Monday. Last week, I forgot the old key cards. So we're gonna pick one. You ready?
Yeah,
And I know
let's
you
do it.
always go right at the end. Eh? You're always
Yeah,
doing
no.
it right at the end.
I'm gonna get you fast this time. I'm gonna
Yeah.
get you fast. Stop. Right there, right there.
Okay, so I
Uh-huh.
don't know if we've done this before because I've just got a green arrow. 93% of sales leads convert if you have these two things in play: a bulletproof client profile and relentless focus. Relentless focus on follow up with the right message, delivering the right message to the right person, and following up between follow ups. Now, I don't know if we've done this on the show, but I have it as a green check mark, so I might have done it on the YouTube channel. But let's do it, buddy.
Yeah,
And
let's
you know
do it.
what? I think
Let's get into it.
I mean, everything happens for a reason, right? And I think as we are coming towards the latter part of February, you know, Q1's already a half over. I guess as of tomorrow, Q1 will be half over.
Yeah.
Um, I've seen a lot of that hype from the new year, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come out, I'm gonna cry, and it's kind of like, whoa,
It's starting to die down a little,
yeah.
guys.
And full transparency, it started to die down for me before I went away on vacation.
Absolutely.
It's just I have all these projects, and I felt like my time was being pulled in all these, different directions. And it's funny because as I'm, I mean, I don't know if you've ever snowmobile DJ, but you're alone in your helmet for like 9 hours, right? And as much as you're thinking of terrain and you're thinking of like, okay, what's the next move? You have a lot of time to think, like a lot of time to think. Now, my son and I put communicators on this year, and they connect to our cell phones so we can listen to music. And I know people are going to think I'm crazy, but I actually listened to audiobooks 85% of the time when I was riding. And it's funny because you way the engine and you can't really hear. But what I found was exactly.
You catch little things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And those little things are like, I would go off on this journey by myself for like 45 minutes. And all of a sudden we'd be at this new spot. And my son would be going, do we go left or right? And then I'm like, okay, hold on. And it's like, but that journey, I think, is part of when we listen to things passively, it becomes that like we get in tune with what we want to hear. Right.
Yes.
And, when I did the, so I'm pretty sure this was my YouTube channel so when I did this on the YouTube channel, if you qualify a prospect properly based on your customer profile and you follow up between follow up and you actually don't miss a beat,
yeah,
I believe you should close around 93% of the people that come in. And the only reason I don't say 100% is because you're going to have that odd one where something happens and like this just needs to put on the back burner. We had Greg in last week that was saying, right now, like I'm not bringing anyone in. I just don't have the time to bring them in.
Yep.
Right. And might have been great intentions, back in November. And then now all of a sudden it's like, okay, listen, we just got to make a push for 6 months. We're got to keep things where we are because it does. Bringing a new supplier in actually takes up more time than just keeping the old ones and trying to fix it, right?
Yeah,
And so,
definitely. Especially depending on how all the people involved in the steps. I mean, it's
yeah,
different. Yeah, different. Yeah.
different departments, what's going on in those departments and all that kind of stuff. And John
Yep.
says, I love that you listen to audiobooks while riding. 100%, brother. It's, I figure you go to automobile university, no matter what kind of automobile it
That's
is or
right.
what kind of
Listen,
motorized
I
vehicle it
listen to
is.
audiobooks while I'm exercising, doing a bike ride, or
Yeah.
even like cutting the grass outside.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
just taking it in. Oh yeah.
Oh, it's
Very
awesome.
cool.
I used to love when I was doing cardio, I used to love listening to audiobooks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, for me, like the weightlifting was more of the Metallica,
Yeah.
for
Screaming.
whom the
It's kind of
bell
pump you up.
tolls,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it was like when I was kind of gearing up, it would be like, okay, well, you're alone with yourself, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And I think that's what I was saying in our Slack group this morning. I said, it's amazing what happens when you go on vacation and when you come back. Like, love going on vacation, but I love coming back even more. And I know it might
Right.
sound crazy, but it's like we actually left a day early, drove almost all the way through the night. We got home at like 2:30 in the morning or something,
Oh
just to sleep in our own beds, right? Like I'm that guy. I like my bed. I don't sleep well anywhere else. But
I hear
anyways,
that.
so bulletproof client profile. We've talked about it many, 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 many times, brother. We've
Yes.
kind of hit this nail on the head a million times,
I think
but
we have.
I don't think we can hit it on the head enough.
I
And
agree. I think people have to really now, since we have hit it so much, really focus on your true customer profile. What is true to you? Who do you really want to work with, deal with, and be with? Yeah, whether it's your supplier, your customer, everybody around you. I mean, I
mhm.
think we have to be true to that profile.
And here's another truth. And again, I know we kind of talked about it a bit on Friday. It's like more and more now. I'm saying to myself, test, 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 test. Like
Yeah.
we share a lot of really cool strategies that can help a lot of people on this show, but
Okay.
they might not help you. They might not be in your wheelhouse that is able to mesh and be congruent with your personality, with the style of individual you are,
Exactly.
with your style of selling. But test. If there's anything I learned, so on the way home on Friday night,
Oh,
it was a 6.5 hour drive. And my son and I have conversation, then it'll go quiet, the typical drive. And I start reviewing the week. So I went over my handlebars
oh,
or
jeez.
crashed or fell off. Ended up being 27 times last week.
Holy
So
cow.
yeah, and I mean, and I'm sore. Don't get me wrong. I'm like really sore. And you know what? I thank the Lord that nothing broke, both on me and my machine. Um,
Yes.
but 27 times I failed, and then it was
Holy
funny.
moly.
It's always so funny because it's kind of like golf. You ever play around a golf and you're sucking, and then like the 18th hole you birdie it, and it brings you back to
Finally,
the next round.
yes. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
It keeps you coming
So
back. It's like that one
100%.
shot. It's like Tin
Yeah.
Cup.
Yeah.
that
Exactly.
one
Yes.
shot ringing,
Yeah.
ringing your.
It's amazing. So Friday, we find this area that is like wide open. It's got hills,
Oh
it's
yeah,
got
you were
little
telling me. You
dips.
were telling me.
And
Yeah,
I was telling you,
yeah,
yeah, and it was insane. And I did not crash once on Friday. And this is like after we had our Friday talk, and I was, showed all the fails and me bailing, 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 bailing. And that's only the stuff that we got recorded. Like there is hours and hours of zero recording. And we found this area, and then the trail kind of wound like this. Well, I just kind of went straight up the middle and kind of
Oh boy.
curved in and out, and I didn't crash. I didn't get bucked off. I found some wicked air. And it's kind of like, it's like, okay, now I'm back into the boondocking part of it. And now I'm obsessed again. And it's crazy,
Yeah.
but it's just the way it
Oh,
is. Right. So,
I love it.
but if we look at that and take that and convert that to a sales analogy, I failed 27 times, but I kept getting back up. Now, here's my question to you, DJ.
Yeah.
Why do you think when we go like things like sports, maybe it be renovations in your home,
Mm.
these types of things, we tend to fail more often than we win, right? If you look at sports, like you look at the Bengals last night, they were
Yeah.
leading 95% of the game and they
Yeah.
failed to convert in the end and they
Yep.
lost, right?
Yeah.
but that brings them back harder next year. And why is it that, and it, for all of you out there watching, listening, share your thoughts too, because why is it that in business it gets deflating and frustrating, but when it comes to sports, it's like, okay, I know I got to train harder. I got to do this. I got to do that. I made a mistake. I'm going to come back hard. And you come back with this vengeance, like,
Yes.
and you know what I mean when I say vengeance, right? Like you
Oh yeah,
come
yeah,
back with
yeah.
this
You're
unwavering,
just more
I'm going to make,
prepared, or
yeah,
whatever it
more
is.
prepared. You're more dedicated. But in business, it's like, we have something fail on us, or we lose a deal, and
Yeah.
it tends to chip away at our self-confidence,
Yes.
right? Whereas in sports, it's like, I just got to get better. Like, and often I find it like we often compare things we're not good at to things people are good at. You ever notice that as well? Where it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
you might have a buddy in the office who's wicked at closing. He just seems to be able to know exactly what to say. And you're like, man, I suck at closing, but this guy is so good at closing. Well, he's been doing it for 20 years and you might be 3 years in the industry. Like,
Yes.
they've learned to do things. And that to me is a it was became a big thought over the weekend as we're driving home, and it was like, okay, why? Like my YouTube video for this week is going to be the 7 lessons that failing 27 times, going over my handlebar 27 times taught me.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important that we change that perspective.
Well,
And
and
I mean,
that's what you just hit the key there. I mean, you said it. You turn the failures into lessons. And it's the quicker we can react to those and really respond to those, and turn those into lessons instead of let it defeating us. I mean,
so
that's what's
why is
going.
it harder? Because it's business, though.
Because it's money. In the end,
Yes, I agree. Yep.
it's
Mhm.
money, and a lot of people. So fear. I mean, fear is our greatest deflator. I think fear deflates all. Unless you have the faith. Unless you have faith in yourself, belief in yourself, and that's where I think sports is a little bit different than business. And I guess it depends on who you're talking to in that level too. But sports. If you have faith in yourself or believe in yourself, sometimes that'll help. Obviously, if your team's rocky, you're a little bit like fuck. Like I can only
Okay,
do so
so
much with
again, back to
myself, but
transportation. If your ops team's rocky, you're like, fuck,
yeah,
right?
exactly,
If your company's rocky, you're like, ugh,
yeah.
do I really want to close these deals? Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, yeah.
And so
Now, here's an interesting thought, because you said something that I'm gonna have to get a hold of Marcus and get Marcus on the show.
yeah,
Marcus is an ex NFLer who, for him, the NFL was a business.
yeah,
Like an NFL is a business, and he said,
it
Dan,
is a
don't get
business.
me wrong, it's sport, but it's a business.
It's a
And I
business,
think
absolutely.
every high level sport, you have to approach it like a business person, right? Like you have to figure out your big five moves. You have to do your needed. Like we've said before in the show. You look at people like Brady, for example, Tom Brady. Like he was a master at nutrition. He was a master at contract negotiation. He was like it's not
Yes.
just the sport. And
No, it's
as a sales rep, it's not just the prospecting. It's the account maintenance. It's bringing the account in, but then not only that, keeping the account and figuring out what exactly the customer actually needs, because sometimes customers don't even know what they need. They think they might
yes,
need one thing and they might really need another thing in order to make that pillar, the main pillar, stick, right? And so I think we have to be kind of masters in multiple domains. And
absolutely.
some people might say, well, you got to be a master in one. You can't be a generalist in all of them. And I agree with that to a point, which is why we have a niche, which is why we have a customer profile, right?
Yep.
But it's interesting how um, that perspective of business versus everything else. Like if we look at all the adversity in our lives that we've faced from day one till now,
I'm so
you
glad
know,
you got yeah.
we've been through it all. Like
Yeah,
when you really think about it, it's regurgitated in a different way. Well, we've been through it. Like I think all of us have had horrible
exactly.
managers. All of us have had the struggles of work life balance. All of us have had, we were just talking about before we got on air. we got a new puppy. And if I were to show you the office right now below this camera, you guys would all be like,
It looks
holy
like a
crap.
totally different office. I can tell you guys
Totally.
that it did
Yeah.
pre-puppy.
You know what I mean? And it's like, and it's, when
Yeah,
we got the first puppy, when we got our first puppy a couple of years ago, it was like, we can't do this again. It takes away so much, like my attention during a day when I've got like these things I'm focusing on, but the love and joy that brings on the back end is uncompromisable. Like
yeah.
like, am I making sense? I'm
No,
trying
yeah,
to put
absolutely.
it into words here, and it's like, you have to invest instead of sacrifice. You have to invest in one end in order to make it. And it was funny because as I was saying to DJ off air, everyone, with our puppy Stanley, it was like he was at the point where it's like, we're good. You can close the door for 45 minutes and you don't have to worry about a thing. And now with Stella, it's like, holy crap. How did I survive this last time? But I think if we look at that and position that as a business strategy, right? Like, okay, we go into prospect, and now it's like all of our business, all of our successes mean nothing because we have to win that next person over. We
Yeah,
have to, it's, and I could say for me personally, one of the biggest challenges when I would stop prospecting, because I'd be too busy with my present customers and I didn't have time, and realizing in the end that
you're,
wasn't the case.
you're just
I
fighting
was
pain.
I was avoiding pain and I was in
Avoiding the
pursuit of
pain.
pleasure, and realizing that, Dan, you have a fear of rejection. And that's really where these thoughts started coming from, is like, why was I afraid of rejection? I was a successful salesperson. And it's like, and I remember that day where I was like, holy crap, I'm procrastinating like a madman. Like,
Right?
you sell and then you coast, and then
Yeah.
your business drops, and you sell and then you coast, and then your business drops. And I see the pattern over and over and over again. I mean, even in Inception, I watch students fall off. I'm like, okay, guys, what's going on? Because I pay attention to who consumes what in my
Yeah. Yeah.
programs, right?
Oh,
I
yeah.
really do. And I remember getting a hold of a bunch of them towards, the middle of last year. Like, okay, where are you at? What's going on? It's like, okay, and then they get rejuvenated for 2 months, and then they disappear off the weekly calls. And then
Yeah.
it's funny because January we have record numbers of people on the weekly calls. Do you know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
it's like,
'Cause their motivation's there.
but that performance puzzle,
Yeah.
like if we think about it and we say, okay, you know what? Today we're talking about how do we convert 93% of our sales leads if we have a client profile, relentless follow up with the right message, and create a system for following up between follow up, right? And if you think about what Greg said last week, it's very interesting because when he said, I got no time, I said, okay, so Greg, how do people start helping you create that time? Like, how, you can't just say nobody's ever, like, because you're going to keep getting calls, but how does somebody break
Exactly.
through? And he's like, just understand now is not the time, but keep in touch, share with me relevant things. And that to me is third base in the baseball diamond, right?
Yep.
First base is qualify, second base is
Yep.
find out why they buy, and third base is fulfill the why. So
Exactly.
Greg right now is saying, like, don't try and sell me anything. Just keep in touch and talk to me.
Open that line of communication, and yeah,
Yeah.
and keep it
But how
going.
many of us try and sell?
We jump right to it as
Right?
soon as
And even you might call Greg for the next 3 weeks, right? Once a week, or the next 2 months, once a month. But then all of a sudden you'll jump into a sell.
yeah.
But it's not the time for a sell. You
Yes.
talk to other people and they're like, it's always a time for a sell. Because so, and I'll give you a perfect example. I have a lot of um, prospects for the program. And over when I was on vacation, I got emails from two of them saying, yeah, it's just not the time. And I was like, okay, no problem. You know what? We'll reconnect when I'm back. I'm on vacation right now. We'll reconnect when I'm back. Now more than ever, I'm like, no, you don't understand. Now is the time. When you don't think it's the time, that is exactly
That
when it
is
is the time.
true.
But if I take Greg's conversation, it's not the time. So you see, there's this paradox that we go through, I
Yep.
think, as salespeople. And right now, I'm in the paradox where I'm in the middle of like literally when we're done, it's going to be composing the conversation to these two companies to say, like, here's my beliefs as to why we need to make the time for this. Now, some of you might say, well, it's sales training and it's not necessarily closing an account, but sales training, there's a lot of onboarding. There's calls to figure out where the team's at and then, how to help them progress as fast as possible. So there's
Exactly.
time that's going to be consumed by the owners or by the VPs of sales. Like it's an onboarding process,
It's
right?
an
Every
encore.
every
Yeah.
sale is an onboarding process. You go out and buy a new software system or like a seamless AI or a Zoom info, you got to learn
Yeah.
how to use it. There's an onboarding process, right? Like
Yep.
everything we do, if you're looking at a turnkey sales funnel or you're a turnkey system that, even line.ai that Hans was here talking about,
Yes.
there's a process of learning how to use it. There's always going to be an investment no matter what we do.
Yeah.
Time, energy, effort, education, when is that going to happen? So I think it's
It,
you see what I'm saying? Am
Oh
I
yeah,
making sense?
in the end, it comes down to us. It comes down to us making the commitment to knowing that we need to go to those next levels. I mean,
Hmm.
it's we have to decide: are we comfortable at this level, or what's our next level? And if we
Yes.
want a next level, we have to then really train for it. I mean, Vince Carter from that book, Trevor Moawad's book, It Takes What It Takes. He talked to Vince Carter about playing in the league until he was like 42, 43. He said, "How are you doing it?" He said, "Look, it's there's only one way to do it. I mean, that's what we all fight with. But depending on the level that you want to get with, whether it's sports, whether it's business, whether it's life, whatever levels, they pretty much will tell you the steps. I mean, there is only, like he said, there's one right way to do it. Vince Carter said it. I could eat a cheeseburger and go out after the game like these guys, but I'm old. I couldn't play for this long if I did that. I have to go back to the gym after the game's done and work out to get my body just used to this because it's different. But again, that's the sacrifices it takes. There's only
Investments.
yeah,
Investment.
investments. Love
Hmm.
the flip on words, and that's exactly what it is. Again, you can look at it as a sacrifice or an investment. Look at it as a loss or a lesson. Look at it as a failure or
Mm.
again, then taking the next step. However you, it's the paradigm we have in ourselves that really I think changes everything, and it's
The flip
what we,
on words.
yeah, yeah,
I
right,
think that sums it up.
yeah,
Like, how
I
can
agree.
you flip the words you use in your head to help you be more, do more, and achieve more?
Yep,
Right?
love it.
Like, I mean,
That's it.
when you think of that, it's like, okay, so, again, if we go back to the topic of today, 93% of sales closes. If you, as a salesperson, I'm going to challenge you to do something right now. I'm going to challenge you to sanitize your entire pipeline and ask yourself, did I qualify this prospect? Do I know exactly why they buy? Where am I at in the fulfillment stage? And if you can't answer those three questions, I'm going to say you don't even have a prospect
Exactly.
because you're flying blind. You got this blindfold on and you're going, okay, if I touch this, maybe this will happen or
If I
maybe
get
this
them
will
to this
happen.
point and just beat them to submission. Here's the thing, guys. And here's the thing, guys. I mean, so being an in-home sales, obviously a little bit different of a methodology, I guess, to what we're doing when it comes to over the phone or what we do in logistics. But in the end, I think it's the same. You have to what Dan is telling you, and if you're getting the right trainings, the right process. We're always taught, especially beginning, depending on where you're getting your training from, that closing is the hardest. Closing should be the easiest of all. You shouldn't have to do anything because if you follow the right steps and you get them there together and you guys are getting there, you're not persuading somebody to do something they don't want to do. You're just
Mhm.
telling them and
I've
congratulating
often
them why
said,
they made the right decision to do it.
I've
Yeah,
often said closing is the next logical step.
yeah,
Like in your
exactly.
entire sales sequence, closing is the next logical step. Once
It
you've
is.
fulfilled everything else, like accounts pretty much close themselves. Now, yes, you as a salesperson might have to say, are we going to do
You
this?
got to ask for
Are
it.
we good to go? Are
Don't
we
forget
going to,
to
what I
ask
mean?
for
Are
it.
you ready to do it? Are you ready to make a move? Are you ready to change the way we're going to do this? Are you ready to achieve your goals? Like whatever the conversation may be,
Yeah,
but that close only happens seamlessly if you've accomplished everything else through the sales cycle. And if you
check off
can't
all the
answer
other
those three
boxes.
questions, yeah, I'm gonna say, and DJ, some people might be like, Dan, come on, man, you're crazy. But I'm gonna say you don't even have a prospect because you
Yeah,
have no idea. Like
because you're
when we
still,
when we
yeah, you're
talked about 93%, it's the delivering the right message to the right person, right? It's that follow up process where they feel like, hey, this person cares, and you truly have to care, especially in today's day and age. Like, the next level of professional is ones that are really in it for the customer. Like the
mm,
ones that are in it for commission, you're going to watch in the next couple of years, they're going to get filtered out and they're going to die a horrible death in the end. Like, and I don't mean that figuratively. I mean it like, you know,
you just painted a very bad picture. No, I'm just
I've
kidding.
painted a very, but it's true. I think it's true.
Yeah,
You're
no,
going to
I
be
agree.
fighting
I
for
agree.
every dollar. You're gonna hate the industry. You're gonna hate your customers. You're gonna hate everything about everything. I've been there. I've lived it. You know what I mean? Like I've been there. I've lost total
Oh yeah,
perspective on what's right and what's meaningful in our world, and what we as professional sales reps are here to do. I don't think the job's going away. I don't think there's robots that are going to take over our job because there's always going to be a
we can't.
human element that most customers want. The customers that
Exactly.
just want a computer element, that's great. They're not part of my customer profile. Right. And maybe they're
Bingo.
part of yours.
Bingo.
Maybe you have that next software system where you're like, I want to do nothing and make a ton of money and the software do all the work. Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe that's the case,
it's possible.
but very possible. But I mean, there is going to be, I mean, it'll never be a 100%. You look at even audiobooks, right? Audiobooks are the digital version of paper books.
Yeah.
There's still hundreds of millions of people out there that are like,
Read.
I like to hold a book in my hand.
Oh
And there's
yeah.
other ones that are like, I have no interest. I can hold 1,000 books on my iPad and I can pick and choose what I want. I'm a mix of both. I love books because I love highlighting them. I love tagging them where I still find a book is
Yeah.
easier access to specific information than an audiobook. But I'll tell you, I love audiobooks too because I spent, countless hours riding last week where I was listening to audiobooks.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? I'm driving in my car, I listen to audiobooks. I have background noise in the office is audiobooks, but
Yep.
I still love paperback books. So I think as a society, we all have our likes and dislikes. And I remember when online quoting first came out, like the Days and Rosses of the world, and I was like, oh my god! And shippers were like, this is awesome. I don't have to talk to anyone. I can just go online and go, and here's my quote, and I go online and here's my quote, and I go online and here's my quote, and then they can
Yeah.
compare the three, and they're not having people or oh, I'll do it for this, and they're not fielding phone calls. They can do it in 3 minutes. They're not waiting for people to call them back. They loved
Yeah.
it. Some people, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Excuse me.
bless you.
Thank you. Others didn't,
Yeah.
right? So, and I mean, wow, we got way off topic today.
No, I like it. I like it. And what you're talking about, is the personal touch. In the end, we have to remember we all have our own likes, dislikes. We're all going to have our own feelings, opinions on different things. We like the personal touch. I mean, I like to be in front of people. That's why this Zoom thing. If I was just talking to you like a regular podcast, not seeing you, I would feel like I don't know. I don't know that I could even do that.
Hmm.
Just
Hmm.
because in my head it doesn't work that way.
Hmm.
There's a lot of other people that do it.
Yeah,
Again, yeah, it's it's gonna
it's individual
find what fits
perspective,
for
right?
you.
But I think the lesson for today is flip the words,
Yes.
right? Flip the meaning, flip the words. If you're stuck on a word, what's the opposite of it? We've often done that where we've often
I
said,
love that. Yeah.
I've shared this a dozen times on the show. Draw a line down the middle of a piece of paper, just a simple piece of paper. Like, and we do it. It's the first thing we do when we try to discover our client profile. Draw a
Yep.
line down the middle. Write all the things if you can't figure out what do I really want, it's like write all the things you don't like in a customer, in your present customers, because that's going to come to your head quicker than the things you like.
Yeah.
Right? What are all the things you don't like, and then flip them.
Yep.
That's the ideal customer. And same
Man.
thing. I think in our business, as a business, as professionals, I think we're constantly flipping because I think we need to stay and keep that edge. right? And
Well,
we look at
you hit it on the head.
everything happening.
Professionals. You hit it on the head. Professionals. The
Yeah.
professionals
Well,
are what take it to that next level.
yeah, because it's their career. And here's the thing, DJ, like you look at professional athletes, that's their career.
Yeah.
And the ones that excel, and again, we're using a lot of athletic and that style, but the ones that excel are the ones that take their career seriously. You
Yeah.
talked about Vince Carter, you know, probably one of the greatest players that ever lived, with the Michael Jordans. And you look at
Yeah.
all of these people, what they did.
Yes.
Michael Jordan had this determination. You look at
Oh,
LeBron James and all of these great athletes. And listen, don't get me wrong, they got talent, right? They wouldn't be there if they didn't have talent. But they
but
don't just, my old
but they're
company had a
sacrificing a
saying.
lot to
Yeah.
I mean, you could do the flip side. So again, taking this from the book, Trevor Mowat talks about it, but Jamarcus Russell, huge guy out of LSU, quarterback, had all of everything you'd want in a quarterback, huge, big arm, all kinds of stuff. Got into the NFL, got big paycheck, and ended up coming back the next season like 40 pounds overweight, out of shape, didn't follow the process, was not a pro in it, got caught up by the money, and it destroyed everything. I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
disappeared. He was number one in the draft to nobody. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But
And you think about that. Think about that for a second, right? Just think about that. We get so caught up
yeah,
in our day to day. I mean, you can go so many places with that. That was such a great example, brother. Such a
yes,
great example of just, how we as individuals create our own destiny.
yeah,
Like we are the CEO of our life, and
yes.
it's time to be that CEO. Like, I mean, unreal. That's such a great way to end the show, brother.
Hey,
That
thank you.
is unreal, from
Thank you.
hero to
Thank you.
zero, because he didn't follow the process, didn't do what needed to be done in order to maintain his career. So if this is your career, understand there's a lot of investment, but that investment pays like compounded dividends for y'all. So we're just going to say good morning to Freedom. What do we got? We got Freedom Advocate here this
I like
morning.
it.
Nice.
Okay.
And then
Good
John
morning,
Wilson. John, good morning again, buddy. Love that. All right,
everybody.
DJ. So what
Hey,
is the quote to take us out on
I got a couple
Valentine's
because
Day?
one's a little bit of an homage or shout out to my wife. It's Katharine Hepburn. What she was told from her grandma. She looked like a little bit. But so it's love has nothing to do with what you are expecting to get, only with what you are expecting to give, which is everything. Uh, that's in the end. I think that's what we need to remember. Give everything, guys, and don't worry about what you're getting in return. It's going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Just give it. But then the other one was, and this is the one I'll take to finish us out. Again, guys, thank you all for. If anybody is watching hasn't said anything or spoken on to us, but or catches this later, again, happy Valentine's Day to everybody, guys. If you forgot, hurry up, go get something. Women as well. Uh,
Freedom Advocate says truth.
if you,
Yes, sir.
yeah, hey, thank you. Um,
Or man.
like
Don't know if you're.
like and subscribe us down below if you catch us later on. If you follow us on our YouTube channel, it's Sales Chatter on YouTube. We also have mine and Dan's links there. Again, American Logistics, we had Daman on there. If you guys are a Canadian broker looking for a new home, Daman is a great place to land. If you're talking about a professional in the industry. But we'll take you guys out with this one, and I think this is good. Black History Month this month, right?
Yes.
So, Coretta Scott King, love is such a powerful force. If there's for everyone to embrace, it's there for everyone to embrace that kind of unconditional love for all of humankind. That is the kind of love that impels people to go into the community and try to change conditions for others, to take risk for what they believe in. In the end, believe in love and believe in humankind, guys. That's it. Love everybody. Happy Valentine's Day.
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.